always be trying to make the best ad you can and keep trying to beat that ad and keep trying to beat that. That's the way you can actually succeed with Facebook ads. It's not easy, but it's also not impossible. You can do it. I'm Barry Hott, longtime digital advertiser. My background is extensively in paid social ads. I've been advertising on Facebook since 2008, back when they were on the right side only, if you can remember back then. I've worked with some of the largest brands. More recently, I've been focused on direct-to-consumer brands. I've gotten to help grow and launch a lot of other brands. Before we talk about the different platforms, I want to talk about intent. One of the biggest keys to choosing where you want to advertise is to understand the intent of your consumer for your product or your service. Some advertising platforms are useful for targeting people that already have high intent, people that are already looking for and thinking about what you're selling. They're going to search engines, right? They're searching for whatever the problem is and they're trying to solve it, or they want that product and they're already looking for it. That's higher intent. You would think more like Google search or maybe Pinterest, right? Where people have intent towards something. And then there are other ad platforms that are lower intent. You're watching TV, you're not thinking, oh, I need to go to Burger King, right? You're not thinking I need Pepsi. You're watching TV. So you don't have intent, but these ads are being served to you and it's supposed to make you get that intent. It's supposed to inspire you to go buy those products. So that would be more like Facebook, a TikTok, a Snapchat. Those are the kinds of things that are lower intent advertising. Is there already high intent for your product or service? Is there demand for it? Make sure that you're putting forward the effort in the right places to match either one or the other. Or if you have something where there's already existing intent and there's also not, you can go after both. There's no reason not. Just make sure you understand that there's going to be different costs associated with each, different messaging associated with each of those types of ads, high intent versus low intent. Make sure you're thinking about that. A reminder with low intent stuff, people aren't there to see your ad. People aren't there to buy your product. If you're on Facebook, if you're on Instagram, if you're on TikTok as a user, you're there to look at interesting content, your friends' content or viral videos or whatever. You're not there to see ads. You're not there to buy deodorant, but you might see a great ad for deodorant and be like, oh, I got to buy that deodorant. And either you go buy it right then and there from that ad, or maybe you go buy it the next time you're in the store. That's the difference between high intent and low intent, and making sure you're making stuff that can get people's attention and make people want to buy. Let's start first with high intent. Google ads are great for businesses where there's already intent. People are searching to find the things that they need. They're entering their problems that you can solve with your product or service. They're entering those right into Google or Bing or whatever search engine you want, and they're putting them in there, and you can come up as a higher result. If you can do SEO, you can optimize your site and get links so that you rank higher in Google, but you can also pay to have the promoted top spots on those search pages. Again, it's going to be very competitive depending on what you're going after, depending how competitive it is, right? Auto insurance is going to be incredibly expensive. I doubt any of you are probably selling that. Hopefully not, but that would be very expensive. So just understand that you're competing against other advertisers for them, and it is high intent. So those customers probably don't need to be sold to as much. You don't have to convince them as much. Maybe you have to convince them why to buy from you rather than from someone else, but you don't have to explain or educate as much as you would someone who didn't have high intent. And using Google search, what better way to have your product or service displayed right to the customer right there? These are super competitive, super expensive sometimes relatively for what you're getting. So just keep that in mind. Don't try and match your high intent costs and low intent costs. They're going to be very different. It might be much more expensive for you to get a high intent customer, or it might be much more expensive to get a lower intent customer. It depends on the competitiveness of the other advertisers in your space going after the same terms. Pinterest is another great platform for advertising for both low intent and high intent. There's a lot of people that are doing intent-based searches there. They're looking for furniture. They're looking for color inspo. They're looking for jewelry, whatever it is. They go there to look for a cool rain jacket, right? There's intent. Not as much intent as a search perhaps, but there is intent. There's also the opposite. There's a lot of people that are there looking for something. They might be shopping for a rain jacket and someone might show them an ad for some other unrelated product. Maybe jewelry. And if it just is relevant to them, it doesn't matter what they're actually looking for. They might still be interested clicking on and buying that product if it's relevant enough to them. Pinterest is great because it's a little bit of both high intent and low intent. You can pursue that The targeting features on there allow you to go after certain search terms, keywords, as well as interests or other categories. So there's different ways you can target users, and you can make your messaging relate to people depending on if you're targeting people that are high intent or low intent. So keep that in mind for Pinterest. You can go after both. LinkedIn is a great place to advertise if you're looking for selling more like business services, or you're selling more expensive things that were more relevant to more business type people. That's a great place to advertise. I personally don't love advertising on LinkedIn. I don't think the tracking is as good as a lot of the other modern advertising platforms, but still a really great place if you have the right product or service or the right audience there. It might be really great. You also might be better off going with a more organic play, pursuing groups or other networks on LinkedIn. There might be other better ways for you to use LinkedIn to sell your product or service. But it's a great way to hit the right people if you know that targeting is right there. Now we move over to the big one. We'll talk about Facebook. Facebook is the ultimate low intent sales machine. Great for advertising pretty much anything to low intent audiences. The key to Facebook advertising is to make content that gets people's attention and motivates them to take action. You've probably heard or thought about doing really heavily interest or behavioral based audience targeting on Facebook. That's not as relevant anymore. In a post iOS 14 world, there have been some changes, and now the targeting isn't as good. But Facebook's machine learning algorithm has gotten really good. Now, what you can actually do is target with your creative. That's like the modern cool thing that marketing people talk about, is making ads that would be relevant to your users. Imagine if you're making a TV ad today and you only wanted it to be relevant to the right people. And imagine that your TV could only show you ads that are relevant to you. That's effectively what it's doing. By making ads that are relevant to certain users, the more users that pay attention to it, Facebook has signals based on those users to show ads to more similar relevant users. So if you show an ad of someone surfing, people that are interested in watching that are going to be shown that ad. And then Facebook will see who takes action based on that, who converts based on that, and will show more ads to more of those types of people. It's a pretty impressive system. Don't obsess over targeting. I know it's really easy to because there are a lot of targeting options, but on Facebook, you really don't need to obsess with it. Focus on targeting with your creative. Focus on making ads that are relevant to your audience and really as broadly relevant to the broadest version of your audience as possible. If you can sell a product that makes sense to a lot of audiences, then do it. Don't make ads that are just catered to the very razor thin audience. Try and make it a little bit broader for more people, and you'll see better performance there. Facebook ads have a lot of flexible customization options, but it's also can be really complex. So it's both a simple tool that you can get in and just start advertising a bit and start getting stuff done, but it's also a really complex tool to excel at and get perfectly right. You got to be comfortable with failure. You got to be comfortable with burning a few dollars there to learn a little bit, but really put forth good ads and you'll see the return. Think about what it feels like to see the ad and make images or videos that can make sense quickly to your relevant audience. Focus on your customer, focus on the user viewing it rather than your brand or yourself, and you'll do well. That's the best advice I can give you. Don't obsess over the weird features. Just try and go out there and always be trying to make the best ad you can and keep trying to beat that ad and keep trying to beat that. That's the way you can actually succeed with Facebook ads. It's not easy, but it's also not impossible. You can do it. The really great thing about all of these platforms is that you can dip your toe in at a small scale. And as long as you use good data and tracking practices, you make sure that maybe you do a week on and a week off. So you understand, okay, I spent a few $100s on ads this week, and then you stopped and you look at what actions were taken on your site. Did you generate sales? Did you generate leads? Did you bring people into taking the valuable actions that you want? Because you should be optimizing to those conversions, to those actions that you want. And Facebook and these other platforms will be delivering ads to the users that will take those actions, hopefully. It's not perfect, but that's your goal. Look at it for a week, see if you see any good results or if you don't. And that's how you should get started, is just play with these for a little bit. If you see the results you like, do it again, do it some more. If you don't, go back, analyze what you think you could do better, what maybe you got wrong, but more importantly, what you can do better. Is the website clear? Does the website work on mobile? Probably 90% of your ads will deliver on mobile. So make sure that your experience makes sense and works quickly on mobile. That's a huge thing. So make sure your ads make sense on mobile and make sure your flow is easy. Make sure that it makes sense and you'll probably do fine. If you're feeling even more creative, then we can talk about TikTok and Snapchat. These are platforms that are mostly video based. You can run images on Snapchat, but I probably wouldn't waste my time or energy too much on that. TikTok and Snapchat are not just for young audiences anymore. There definitely are younger skewing audiences on there for sure. But my very old 70-plus-year-old dad is on TikTok more than I am. There's audiences on there of all different shapes and sizes, and that is a quickly growing platform. If you can make captivating content that can get people's attention immediately, first second of that video, if you can make content that can work on TikTok, then maybe putting some money behind it will do well. The key here is content, not just an ad about your product or service. If you can make actual, interesting, fast-paced, quick content that would work on TikTok, that looks like and feels like those other TikTok videos that have lots of views and lots of engagements, if you can make something like that or try, you can be successful. And the good news is, if you get something like that works on TikTok, there's a high chance that it'll also work on Snapchat, and it'll also work on Facebook, Instagram, and maybe some other places as well. That's a great place to start creatively, is how do I make content? How do I emulate that kind of content that is quickly attention grabbing and keeps attention? And then how do I use that attention to get people to take the action that I want them to take? How do I get them to buy? How do I get them to submit an email? How do I get them to reach out and contact me? That's your goal. Get that attention, keep that attention, educate with that, and then get people to take action. That's it. And since attention spans are low and the expectation for relevant content is high, it's really difficult to succeed on TikTok. For some. Some people, it's natural. I've seen some people, they just get on there like, oh yeah, I got this. And they just selfie video of them doing something exciting. Whatever it is, don't worry about overproducing it. Don't make it super polished. Make a TikTok. Have fun with it. The key to that on TikTok and all these platforms is making relevant content for your audiences, making sure that you're targeting effectively with your creative. You're showing things that make sense and would be relatable to lots of people that would then want to stick around to learn more about your product or service. Go look on Twitter and YouTube for people that are already interested in talking about what you are trying to sell or do. There might be people that are already having those conversations in public, and go look for that on Twitter. Also, for any help you need getting set up on any of these advertising platforms, YouTube has tons of free resources. Facebook also has free resources as well to educate you, but start on YouTube. Watch a bunch of videos on YouTube. See what people are saying, how to do things, how to get started. There's a lot of valuable resources there for free. So go check them out. I think that's all I've got to say. I hope that you've learned something here. If you want to hear more from me, I'm pretty active on Twitter. You can find me at BingHot, BingHott. You can find me on TikTok as at BarryHot as well. I've got a little bit of silly content on there. And if you need help, you can reach out to me on one of those platforms or through my website. I wish you the best of luck. Thanks so much for your time. Take care. Intent.